You look like you're.
So, a little jazz, a little calabash, playing bash today as we go in. Welcome to Victory Speaks. It's an inspired conversation series. I'm your host, Nicole Waldron, aka Victory. Now, guess what? Some of you may not know that my name, Nicole, means victory, victory of the people. So here we go, Victory Speaks. So I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to share inspired conversations with you. And throughout the many conversations I know that I've had in life and you've had in life, some are good, some are bad, some are funny, some are ugly. You name it, you have it. So I know, and I think I can really bet my bottom dollar that you have had some inspired conversations over your life with powerful people doing great things. And my guests today are doing great things. And that's why they're on the show. So before we get deep into the conversation, I'm going to encourage you to do 1, 2, 3 things. Get some note paper, get a pen, pencil, grab a drink. You have like 2 seconds to grab a drink. Because you may want to take notes, because you never know when nuggets can come in a conversation that inspire you to be better, to inspire you to share with someone. So let's just be real. We're going to have a conversation. Welcome to my living room. Welcome to my guest living room. I'm going to turn down the music now. Ooh. And that was Bash by Calabash. I have all rights and permission to use it because my brother plays with Calabash. And so welcome to Inspired Conversations, Marc and Meghan Hull-Jacquin. No, I feel like I said the last name wrong.
It was good.
Come on, Marc. Well, anyways, thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you guys here on the show. And before we get into it, I want to tell you a little bit about Marc and Meghan. Meghan is a personal injury lawyer and a partner at Howie Sachs and Henry in Toronto. She has been a litigator for 15 years, and she's so beautiful. She's so beautiful and she's powerful, beautiful, powerful, and amazing. I'm liking it. She has already developed, I mean, looking at you, I can't believe you're a shark I can tell you're a shark. Like they can't mess with you when you get into the courtroom. I wish you would be my lawyer. She has developed a reputation for defending vulnerable accident victims against insurance companies who refuse to support them. And that's so key, and especially in this time. This also includes elderly people hurt while in nursing homes and injured refugees and asylum seekers. You're like my Shiva right now. We may have to push Marc to the side and have our own inspired conversation. But now we're going to bring Marc in. And you know what, Marc, I like your name. It's not spelled like my dad, but my dad is Marc too, you know. And so that's one of the reasons I like your name. I like you. You came into my life by happenstance. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Marc. Marc has been leading Shelter Movers since he founded the organization in 2016. And before that, he worked as a policy and strategy development in a variety of public and private sectors. He has a master's in cultural anthropology, wow, and has been passionate about service and equality seeking for many years. And you know what? That is so true, so true. So Marc and Meghan, welcome to Inspired Conversations with Victory Speaks. I'm so thrilled and excited to have you here. And hopefully now when I get excited, I have to talk to myself because I tend to talk really fast. So if I talk too fast, just say, Nicole, slow down. It's okay. And so welcome, guys.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. So, okay, if you're out there, you're live, you're on a replay, let Marc and Meghan know that you're welcoming them. Press your hands up, your thumbs up, your hearts. Let's see some sparks flying there if you're watching on Facebook. Let's see some sparks flying there. Let them know they're welcome. And hopefully one day I'll get to have, you know, an interpreter and we can really do it all the way around. So here's my first question. What inspires you, Meghan?
Wow.
That's an easy first question. Wow.
I know. Or it could be a who. What or who inspires you the most?
Wow. Well, I guess my answer has to be my faith. It just motivates me to serve, to help people, and just to give what I have to support other people. So it's sort of the core of what I am, I would say. And I just look for opportunities to do that in my life with my family, my husband, my children, but also professionally and in my other relationships. So I'd say that's a heavy question, but that's probably my best answer.
Okay, you're my new sister. I'm just saying, acts of service. Meghan, we're on. So, Mark, who or what inspires you the most?
It's a good question, and on the really hard days at work, I have to answer that question and remind myself what I'm trying to do. So for your viewers, Shelter Movers is what I do. So I created this charity a few years back, and basically we are a moving service, and we help women and children leave abusive relationships. And I think what inspires me is my awareness that that there is a way to be useful. That it's helping women and children leave abusive homes is a really difficult thing to do. But I think the people I've surrounded myself with have been very inspired by the idea, and I think we've found a way to make it work. And it's actually working. We've moved 1,300 families now in the past few years. We're moving about 60 families a month. So where do I get my inspiration? I get it from the people around me who believe in the cause. And obviously Meghan is part of that. My kids are part of that. But I get to surround myself with people who are very, very committed to a cause. And it's not about me. I started it, but it's so much bigger than just this one person now. And I get to meet incredible people every day. And it's very, very motivating.
So again, so acts of service, married acts of service. So you guys, you just love people and you love helping. Huh. I wonder who's helping you. We're going to have to I might have to get you a life coach, because somebody's got to be pouring into you and somebody's got to be pouring into you. All that giving out, I hope you're getting back. But so how did you get this idea, Mark? Like you were doing stuff in the corporate world, and in order to do this full time, you had to give some things up. So were you sleeping one night, walking down the streets? What happened to make you? That's the story I don't know.
And that there's a reason for that, Nicole. You and I
if you can't share it, that's okay.
I will share it for you, but we don't share it with everybody because it's
okay. It's guys on Facebook. Shh.
That's right. That's right.
It's just us.
Facebook, just us, okay. Little room, just a small group. I think the reason why we don't talk a lot about it is because, when you see a duck on the water, the duck is calm and cool and collected, but the duck under the water, those feet are going a mile a minute. And I think so. Shelter Movers got started basically when I was on parental leave. So Megs was very kind to share her mat leave with me. We have 3 kids, so I've taken progressively. She's given me progressively less and less of the parental leave, of the mat leave, but I did get 5 months with our 3rd child, and I think I was looking for a way to be useful, and I think I was in the corporate world. I worked in oil and gas, and it was a good paying job. It was intellectually stimulating and all that, but it didn't have the purpose that I needed, didn't have the meaning. So I was looking for meaning, and I was looking for a way to be of service. I think, Megs has a great job. We have money in the bank, and we can take care of our kids. And I think that the more you have, the more you have to give.
Right.
And so we have a responsibility beyond our children to be of use and of service to as many people as we can. And so I leaned on Meghan and her income, and I created Shelter Movers while on parental leave, and I tested it out. I took our youngest in the baby carrier when she was napping, and I'd go see the police, and I'd present the idea to them, and then I presented the idea to the women's shelters, and over the response was the same. It was always sort of, how do women leave abuse safely? Because it's you've got the shelters, and you have the police, and you have all these services around survivors. But if they can't get to those services, then we have a real problem. So if we can help them leave safely, we can unlock all the services that are there waiting to support them. And so I just wanted to create something that could be that that gap, the bridge over that gap that no one else is doing, and be of service. And also as a guy, you know, it's not like I'm going to walk into a women's shelter and start volunteering. It doesn't really work like that. So Shelter Movers is a way for guys who are also, you know, we're tired of violence against women. It's not acceptable. It's 2020. This should have been dealt with many, many years ago, and yet men continue to hurt women. And not all men agree with it. Most men don't. But I think Shelter Movers is a chance for guys to step up and do something very hands-on, very practical, to say enough is enough. We won't stand for this anymore. So and if it wasn't for, you know, this partnership, I would not have been able to afford to do it, or have anyone to kind of take care of our kids and support us while also carrying their own career. So this is our work, you know, from the start. But now I work full time at the organization.
Now you said so many things that were just nuggets. Nuggets. But you know what? You might not even realize it. First, you go on parental leave. So you showed the importance of shared parenting, especially when you can do it, and supporting each other. And then you didn't just sit there. You were like, how can I help? And what is inspiring me, especially as a man, you're saying, and guys, feel free to jump in on Facebook and give us your comments and let us know how this is impacting you. You found something that was a need that wasn't been supplied, because if I'm correct, Shelter Movers is the only one of its kind in Canada.
That's
no
right.
Other organization, no other charity, no other profit, non-for-profit, anything that provides a free service. And I've worked in a shelter with women, and when they have to move, they have to get money for a truck. Even if they get a free mattress, they're expected to go get the free mattress. And I'm like, how are they paying for this? And where are they going? And then to go into their homes, how do they go back into that place safely? And that for me is like, I am speechless. And every time I hear the story, I'm speechless by what you guys are doing. The fact that you thought about this, and you thought about it thoroughly. And I know you can't share everything because there's some safety mechanisms, but how do you recruit people to help you do this? And I know it's not just men. I know there are women too that come on board and help you do this move for a woman from a shelter into her new place with her family.
Yeah, this all really starts with the survivor. So everything we do, all of our values, all of our processes, all of our safety procedures, everything starts with her courage to leave. If she's not able to leave and not able to make that brave decision for her children or for herself to go, then we're not going to do very much. We're never going to, you know, tell anyone. So it really starts with the survivor. It's our board of directors. We do have one man on the board of directors, but our board of directors is primarily women. I surround myself with people, but mainly women, who are more intelligent, usually better organized, and clearer in their understanding of the issue than I do. So I'm good at bringing people together, and I can raise money and I can do that. But this is I'm operating as an ally to women who are running the organization, and to women who are being served by the organization, because this is their story. This is about them. So and we do serve men, and we have served men, because men do suffer abuse as well.
Yes, they do.
But we need to call a spade and really just sort of say this is a problem about men who are hurting women in Canada and in other countries. So we say violence against women, and we really, really do mean it. In terms of the safety procedures and our recruitment, so the recruitment is very open. We want a cross section of society to be involved, and we try to make the volunteering process very flexible. So you don't have to, you're not signing up like at a food bank where you go every Thursday at 6 o'clock, you got to be there. It doesn't really work like that, because our clients need our help any time of the day or night.
Yeah, they have to be ready at any time. Yeah, I got you.
That's right. So in order to be able to respond in a timely way, we need a very large roster of people. So we have about 800 to 900 volunteers.
Wow, Mark.
Yeah, it's big, and it's growing by about 60 per month. And we are recruiting in. So we operate in several cities now. So we serve Greater Toronto. We also work in Ottawa, Vancouver, and Halifax.
Okay. Halifax now. I didn't know about the Halifax. Okay, that's big.
Yep.
Congrats.
And so I'm from Halifax originally. I'm from Nova Scotia. So it was very important to me personally when a group came to us and said, we want to give this a try in Halifax. I said, yeah, sign me up right away. So,
okay.
So
I got some friends on Halifax on right here right now. Angela in Halifax is giving a thumbs up.
Oh, good. We'll send you a recruitment form, Angela. You're signed
okay.
up. But I think the point is that as I said, sort of everyone has a role to play in ending this issue, and so
different ways to volunteer.
Yeah. What are the different types of things that people are doing at Shelter Movers these days?
So I think one of the cool things, because I am a volunteer, and what I enjoy doing is helping out with the gala. And so I help with the silent auction to raise money and selling tickets and putting tables together and things like that. And so that's sort of what I enjoy doing. And one of the things about Shelter Movers is that it'll put you where you feel like you can contribute, or what gifts you have that you can contribute as much or as little time as you have. Whatever skills you have, you bring to the table, you make those known, and then they'll give you those opportunities. There's just a flexibility in your ability to, give at certain times of year or certain times of the week, or in certain ways that's really, I think, accommodates a lot of busy people.
And you know what? That was one of the things I loved, because I remember meeting Mark in one of the previous gigs in my life that I was doing. And I was just so impressed. And the fact that, and I think everybody should know, all volunteers have to go through a police check. You can't just come and volunteer. And the safety of women of concern. And like, as Meghan said, you can volunteer in your strength. So like, as an event planner, one of the things I wanted to do was help with the event part. And then, I had some things happen in my life that had to put me on pause. And I said, I always keep saying, how can I help Mark and Meghan and Shelter Movers and what they do? And I was just sitting there, I was going, no, we gotta have an inspired conversation. I gotta tell people what you're doing. Because every time, I try and tell people what you do, and I only have 2 charities of choice for me personally, and Shelter Movers is one of them. Because I'm very focused, and I'm very intentional of where I want either my money. If I don't have my money, time, because sometimes it's not always about the money. Sometimes it's about the time. Sometimes it could be a tweet. Sometimes it could be, a post. Sometimes, it could be come on board and help you get some gifts for a fundraiser. And as we speak about fundraisers in this time of COVID, I can only imagine the pivoting you've had to do in several parts of the organization, because we know, and you can probably give me the stats better than I know it at the top of my head, that violence among women and their families have gone up. So there has to be more movement. There's more moves that have to happen. Therefore, you have to be more robust. You probably wish you had like 1 million movers right now across Canada, because you can't fulfill the need. And so you've had to get masks. I remember seeing a drive to get masks. Do you have enough PPE equipment or gloves and stuff like that? Is there a need for that in Shelter Movers right now?
Well, I'll tell you, Nicole. So you hit the nail on the head. I'm glad you raised it. So as the pandemic started to take shape in early March, we fortunately took action very, very quickly. So as you said, safety and security, that's what we're all about. Everything we do revolves around keeping people safe, protecting their information. But when you add a pandemic on top of this, and you add, in many cases, in most of our cities, there's been a 30% increase in phone calls. So we're operating at capacity most of the time, and we're operating basically currently 30% above the busiest we've ever been. We had a record month, sadly, in April for many of our cities. And conversely, there are other towns in rural areas where we don't yet operate, but rural communities across Canada where shelters are getting no calls or very few calls. And it's not because the violence has gone down. It's because she is isolated with him in the home because he's watching her phone and she can't get out, literally can't leave the home.
Get out of the house. Yeah.
So her ability to call for help, those small windows of opportunity are smaller than ever. And it's a very scary situation. As of a few days ago, there were 9 women killed since the pandemic began, murdered that we know of that have been reported. This is what the violence against women and femicide, and really the word is killing women because they are women. Femicide is the shadow pandemic that is happening in Canada and around the world right now. The isolation caused by this virus is creating more deaths among women than any other virus of its kind that we're aware of. There's no other social phenomenon in recent history that has impacted the lives of women in this way. This is no joke. This is really, really serious for women across Canada. We are absolutely busier than ever. In terms of protective equipment, we did act very quickly. So as you mentioned, we did do a drive and requests for masks. We received a large number of masks, which is great. Some distilleries in Halifax and in Vancouver and elsewhere did provide some sanitizer. So for the moment, until say the end of July, we're probably going to be okay because we've been able to. So we require all of our movers to wear masks during the move. We require them to glove during the move. We require them to keep their distance. We are renting more expensive trucks now that have multiple rows of seating, so we can put our client as far back from our drivers as possible. Those are more expensive. And we have to rent the vehicles for longer because we have to wipe down all the vehicles and disinfect everything. And I'm, so we made this mad rush in March and we were able to collect enough to sustain ourselves for the moment. But the evidence is overwhelmingly clear. There is very likely to be a second wave of this virus sometime in the fall or the winter. I can tell you right now, we are not ready for that. We do not have the protective equipment to last through that. And we certainly, as the restrictions on social movement begin to relax through the summer, and we've already seen this in many provinces, we know that will afford women a greater opportunity to make that call. So the organization has responded, I think, very well to that first wave. Now we need to be ready for the surge of calls that will come in June and July. And we need to get ready for the fall when the second wave of the virus, God forbid, but if the second wave of the virus does come, we need to be ready. So
we have a window that we have to capitalize on. So I'm going to say to anybody listening out there, if you have a friend, if you work in a corporation that is still surviving COVID, even if it's $5, even if it's $2, I encourage you to go to sheltermovers.com. You can go to, I know Shelter Movers at the back of my head. My sister just put in here, Nicole's been talking about you for years. Yes, I have. They're on Twitter, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. You see the stories. People are always giving, and I am trying my best as the host of this show not to cry, because it means so much to me when I know the logistics and I know some of the behind the scenes, and you're only giving a snapshot of what it is behind the scenes, because there's a lot of coordination between the shelters. There's a lot of coordination with the women. Their safety has to be at hand. The safety of the movers have to be at hand. And so if you're out there, and even if you have the time now, so say you're home, you have an opportunity to not be bored. Go get your police check. Tell us where we can send an email. Nicole, if you're online, anybody from Shelter Movers online, please drop some comments on there. Tell us, make sure people know about the website, the email, how to get in contact with you, because even though we come offline, I wanted to live there, that people can go back and scroll through the comments and see how to find you and see how to be a part of this, because and there's the energy that you need for your own selves. So when we look at these tough days that you're facing, because I know you sleep, eat, and breathe this. Meghan, you're dealing with another group of individuals that have been through accidents. We're dealing with the nursing homes. Some of you may know my son was in a bike accident 5 years ago. I wish in heaven I had known you then. and to get the right lawyers in place to make sure that he had the right counsel, and know when to take the right deal, because it's so hard when insurance companies are pressuring you, or you have physio and you have all these things to do. I want to just switch gears for a moment, because we know what's happening with the woman, and I'm recognizing as people are going through COVID, they're speeding. There's all sorts of stuff happening. There's more accidents happening. They're talking about more accidents on the roads happening. And God forbid you become a victim of one of these accidents or something in the nursing homes. What advice, Meghan, can you give to people that are finding themselves in those predicaments?
Well, you're right. The whole stunt racing has apparently increased 600% or something in Toronto. It's wild, and obviously really dangerous for other people driving, pedestrians, cyclists. It doesn't cost anything to speak to a personal injury lawyer. Okay. And when you're in an accident, you're all of a sudden, well, not only are you, is your life sort of thrown upside down and you're injured in some way,
right?
The insurance system is not easy to navigate. I've been doing it for 15 years and I'm still learning new things. Every case is different. And so just to pick up the phone and speak with somebody that you trust is key. To at least explain the system to you and educate yourself, you'll feel, I think, empowered in order to, take the next step, because you really are rebuilding your life. And you need to make sure that you're speaking with somebody that you trust, that you know has the experience to deal with the insurance companies, because they're massive organizations that don't care about individuals, and you want somebody that cares about you as an individual and looks at what your life was like and tries to help you get back on track. And so I would just encourage people that find themselves in that situation to make a phone call and just talk with somebody and have your questions answered and figure out what's best for you.
So one of the things we're going to make sure and do are a couple things, especially at the end of this conversation. We'll put some information as to how people can probably find you, Meghan, and even like some of the questions they should ask when they call a lawyer like yourself. Also, Marc, I think we need to have some information on if you find yourself in an abusive situation, the numbers that people can call, the places that you can go, and what can be done. So we've been heavy for a minute. Let's take a breath. Let's take a yeah, because we need to breathe and get the endorphins going. When you think of all these tough times and we're having these tough conversations, what inspires you now to keep going? What gives you the energy right now to get through those days? Because you're managing a family, you're managing your life, and Marc, you're managing some weight, buddy. You've been telling us, you've been taking us through a journey. Yeah. I'm on a journey too, don't worry, but I'm doing my journey different than yours. You sold us, you told it, you put it on Facebook.
I did.
You did.
Oh, you're hilarious.
Said, you're on your, just don't weigh yourself every day. Just do the exercise. I love your trainer. You have the best trainer ever.
He's pretty cute.
Yeah.
Yes, well, that's
our son.
That's a loaded question. Yeah. So, yes. So quarantine has been particularly challenging. I think everyone's got their challenges because of the virus. I think in our house, the challenge has been, like you said, we do have two pretty demanding jobs, and there are people who are counting on us to be available and to be calm, when things are not calm. So, and that's the first thing. But the more important thing is our children. So we have 3 kids, like I mentioned, and homeschooling. We have 3 kids at 3 different age levels. So we're teaching, but I think we worked out a system. So I think, we both take the school system pretty seriously. Like we don't, and this is not a comment on anybody who's stopped teaching their kids. Everyone does what's right for them. And what's right for us is to invest in making sure they continue to do their schoolwork. So we've got school every morning and we've been splitting our days 50-50. One, we basically don't work,
Right.
for 3 or 4 hours while we take on the kids. And then, so we each do 4 hours of work, either morning or afternoon, and then we'll do work after the kids go to bed. And that seems to have held us together well enough. I think we're also very, very fortunate because we do have jobs, and we've not had to take any big financial hits. So we're very lucky that way. And we're also I'll just keep adding, we're also very lucky because COVID has not touched our families directly in any way or our close friends. So I don't think we have much that we can really complain about. We've been very lucky to get through this. And
in fact, we've been eating really well, and that's why he's taken up.
So,
I love it. I love the honesty. I love the honesty. And you know what? And I see the love between you two. What keeps that love, that spark in your marriage? Because again, you're balancing so much. And I know there are couples on here watching, and what keeps that love, that spark, that twinkle I see in both your eyes still for each other? Mark looks at you and I see it.
I just had some wine. I don't know what you're talking about.
Is that sure? Right.
You want to go first?
No, you go ahead. I can't wait to hear the answer to this question.
I love it.
So we'll all be real for a second. So this has been hard on everybody. It's been hard on us as well. It's been hard on our marriage.
COVID or shelter movers?
No, that's not true.
Just kidding.
No, I think we argue, and I would say we're probably arguing more than we have before the pandemic. And it's not usually over any major things. It's not like, again, we've been fortunate to not have to make any major life decisions, to be honest, based on the pandemic yet. But we don't always agree on what the kids should be doing every day.
Right.
We don't always agree on how much time they should spend in front of a screen. We are having a lot more discussions now about what our life should look like than I think we've had to think about in the past. And it's put a lot of stress on us, and we don't always agree. And I can't always be right, Nicole. So I don't know. I try to explain to her why she's wrong, but she doesn't seem to want to. And then she's got all these arguments, and she's better at arguing than me. And then she puts me in my place, and then I gotta
Meghan, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you, Meghan.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. No, I would say mutual respect is absolutely critical.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I think that's sort of the foundation of a healthy relationship, would just be that respect, even though you disagree, just the way you treat each other and support each other, even if you are arguing. Just that foundation is critical.
I like that.
We don't argue. I don't think we argue, or we have very rarely argued about the fundamental stuff. So, the fundamental values we want our kids to have, big financial decisions. We have guests living at our house who are new to the country, and it's just we just kind of are on the same wavelength, and maybe we're lucky, or maybe we just talk through it. I don't know, but we're both pretty
You sound intentional. You sound, when I hear you, and I'm inspired by the intention that you have. I'm inspired by and the humility that I hear that you both operate in, and even that you're not so pressed to be. You don't have to be right all the time, and the respect for each other's opinions. Even if you disagree, you sound like you have learned how to agree to disagree, and that's valuable when I hear the two of you speak, because I can hear even in the jest and the joking, there's humor in it, and so that's really huge, and I hope those watching can also hear that as well. If you're hearing other things, you let me know, because I'd love to share it with them. I'm going to show you some comments right now, or tell you some comments. But thank you for sharing that, because that was really good, because I think it's so important as you're in relationships, whether you're single, whether you have a partnership, whether you have a marriage, no matter what relationship you are in, whether you have your siblings, your parents, everybody is in close quarters right now. And I heard a lawyer say the other day, a celebrity lawyer says, people are already filing the divorce papers, because it's different coming in and out, but now when you intentionally have to be at home, you really have to work on the relationship. It's not just being in love anymore. You have to like the person that you're with. So that goes a long way. I have one person ask a question: is there a particular age group of abused women that you see more than others?
That's a great question. We do. So we know in Canada and elsewhere that women are at a heightened risk of violence at 2 points in their lives. And the first point is when they get pregnant. So abuse is about isolating someone and controlling them. And if you can't isolate and control them because they're going to see a doctor, or people outside of the relationship are asking about her, asking how she's doing, she's at a heightened risk of violence. And after she has the baby and people are visiting and families visiting, he's got a lot more eyes on the family. So he's not feeling like he can control her quite so much. And he will use that, and he'll react to that and use that and try to further control her. So risk of violence is very high then. So we serve a lot of women who are pregnant or who have had children within the last 2 years. Most of the women we serve have at least 1 to 2 kids.
Do you see age group? Do you see any particular age group?
So age group, I mean, I would put them between 20 and 30.
Okay.
But we have, and so the second time in a woman's life when she's at the greatest risk of femicide or high degrees of violence is when she communicates her intention to leave, because that for him is now she's figured it out. She realizes she can live without him. She realizes she has power, and she realizes she has value without him. And that for him, just that'll just send him over the edge. And so it's a very risky and potentially dangerous time for her. And so those women might be later in their lives. The children may have gone, or maybe they've grown up. And she says, you know what, I've had it. I've put up with this for 20 years. I'm 30 years. I'm 50, 55. I deserve better. I'm out of here. And so we've served that population as well. I mean, the oldest person we've served was in her late 70s. And the youngest person we served, we can't serve minors. We have because of they have children's aid worker who work with them. The youngest would be an 18-year-old woman or an 18-year-old young mother. Violence against women, and I'm speaking with 2 women, so I don't know why a lot of women already get this, but I'm catching up. But violence against women is not a problem that affects any one community or any one age group or socioeconomic group. We've moved women out. I live in Toronto. There are women we moved out of homes that I will never be able to afford. These are mansions.
Exactly.
And they needed to move out. And we use, as you may know, Nicole, we're plain clothes when we do these moves. We're just friends picking up something. We use unmarked vehicles. We're in and we're out very quickly. No one really knows what's going on. We keep things vague and
privacy is important. The privacy and security for the woman is very important.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And so working kind of with discretion is key. And for women who are of means, who've got who are in that big house, we moved a woman out of a house not long ago, and she, we don't ask anyone their story. It's none of our business. If she's been referred to us, and that's how we work by referral. So if a woman calls us, we need to ask her, is she working with somebody, a women's shelter or a social worker or somebody who can refer her to us? And the client in this particular case revealed to us as we were driving her to the shelter that she says, I bet you're wondering why I would need your help. And it's because he's been monitoring her credit cards for months. And there's no way she was going to call a moving company and arrange on her phone and then have it show up on her credit card. She needed to do this quietly and quickly. She had 2 kids she needed to protect. And she felt so much shame from being in such a wealthy position, but none of the money was hers. She effectively had no dollars because he was controlling the bank accounts. So it's so important in what we do, and I think in everyone's life, basically, to be very, very cognizant of the illusion of thinking you understand what someone's going through, and to really step back and say, I don't know. And I'm not going to make any assumptions about this person or their background or their lifestyle, because I just don't know. And if I care about them just because they are there and just because they're just a human being, then it simplifies everything, frankly. It makes it much easier to just walk in and do what they're asking you to do without any judgment, because it's not about us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about her and her journey. And our job is to have the privilege to be with her on that small part of her journey, because it's a long road. As many women know, it's not quick. And moving your kids from a home to a communal living in a shelter during a pandemic,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not.
And you can't live in the same area. You have to literally move a woman from one part of the city to another part where they're not known, or even to another province sometimes.
Absolutely.
And you gave a great analogy earlier on where you talked about the duck. The duck underwater looks really cool, calm, and pretty. The swan, you can use a swan, but you don't know what's happening under the water. And sometimes we have to really walk without judgment of people and ask. And if you know a woman in an abusive situation, sometimes you have to find discreet ways that we can ask how we can help and let them know. There is a friend of mine online she is saying, and this is good news here, I am always willing to help, but I'm 75 years and my age keeps me going. Now she's 75, trapped in a 50-year-old body. That's basically what she is. And she says, even while this virus is going on, please let me know how I can help from my home base. So if there is phone calls that she can make, she's an event planner. She's actually my mentor. How the person I learned how to do events when I was 19 coming here, and we're friends still to this day. She's a godmother of my son, so I can tell you she has one of the best reputations as event planners in the city. So Joan is saying, call me, Mark. Nicole, the other Nicole, I'm going to look on the comments and send her a little note. Nicole from Shelter Movers is behind the scenes, and she does a lot with the galas, and she's put on phenomenal galas and helped with fundraising. And so, I mean, your team and your volunteers, I am just in awe of them, that they give so selflessly. How do you inspire them because they're seeing some pretty traumatic stuff sometimes, or hearing the stories? How do you guys inspire them?
Yeah, I think leadership, at least for a startup, because it was me working in my basement when the kids were asleep, when I wasn't doing other stuff that Meghan was doing to take care of the family in the early days, for sure. I think the people who joined Shelter Movers in the early days, I think they joined for two reasons, or they tell me they joined for two reasons. The first one was because they knew that they could make a real tangible difference in the lives of people around them. And number two, the other reason why they joined is because they saw the person who started it on the ground, in the truck, getting on his hands and knees, reaching for toys under the children's bed. They knew that the leader of the organization was not leading from the back. He was literally on his hands and knees making it happen. And I think it gave them a lot of confidence that I was never I have three kids, and we have three kids, but this is my fourth kid. Like I love this, and this is my passion. Maybe this becomes my life's work. And so I think when people find someone who believes in something as much as I believe in this organization, they feel they can really jump on that bandwagon, and it will take them somewhere very interesting. And so we have a tremendous amount of loyalty from our volunteers and our staff. And these are meant, basically all of our staff people were volunteers first. So these are true believers.
Yeah. That's what I like about it. You didn't just, a lot of organizations take volunteers, and when it's time to hire, they don't hire from within that pool. And you have been very intentional. Again, I use that word inspired. People may get tired of me, but I'm telling you, it's one of the reasons why I said Shelter Movers is a charity of choice for me. You hire from within. You take the people that you've seen who've proven themselves, and you hire them and make sure that they have a job, and they continue to help you along the way. So, I'm so proud of what you're doing, Mark.
We always say the interview process is only about 1.5 years long, and then they get a job. So sorry, Meghan.
No, I was just going to say, just to stem from what Mark was saying in terms of inspiring people, he obviously, now this is a national organization in many cities and it continues to expand. But one of the things I know from my contacts, who are a lot of the people that attend at the fundraising galas, is how inspiring it is to know that they are making a difference with their donation. Because I think it's about $200 to move a family and donate $200, you know that you personally, or with whoever it is that you've contributed that amount of money to, are actually moving a family. And that, you know that you're having a very, very tangible effect on someone's life. And so that really speaks volumes, I think, to people as well. It's really inspiring for them as well.
Mhm.
I thank you for giving that stat, because I think that's so important. It's just $200 to move a family. I mean, now it's going to probably cost you a little more with COVID.
Well, so yes and no, Nicole. So because we've had many of the PPE donated, and we have some other backers, I checked the numbers recently, and it's probably $230, but we say $200 is pretty much the number, because we have great relationships with the private sector, and they donate trucks or they donate storage. We also have security personnel. So we have bodyguards for some of our high risk moves that will come and attend the moves.
Yep.
We have language translators, so interpreters who will come and translate. And something that not a lot of people think of is pet fostering. So the user will often use the pets as tools to make her stay. And if she knows that she can get the pet to a safe place, we have kennels, and we take a little puppy or a cat, and we find a safe place for them to stay, because women's shelters don't always have the means to allow women to take their pets in with them. Some do, but most don't.
So the moves are a lot more expensive, but because of all those donated components on various moves, it whittles down to the 200, which is meaningful.
Yeah, and it's Megs is right. I mean, asking for money is never comfortable. But I think, if we're asking for money for a cause where it was sort of a vague outcome, it can be more difficult for some people to feel comfortable making donation. But I can tell you, I mean, I see every dollar that goes through the organization. I track it. We push all our money towards renting those trucks and paying for the insurance and the protective equipment, because the only question I ask myself every morning is, how are we going to move more families than yesterday? I mean, I put a tremendous amount of pressure. You're talking about leadership. I do put a fair bit amount of pressure on my staff to say, we moved 55 families last month. What are we going to do to move 56 families this month? How everything, becoming obsessed with your customers, obsessed with your clients, that everything about them, everything that they do and they want becomes the obsession of the organization. So we're trying to meet every one of the needs that they might have. Any barrier that they have to leaving that person, we need to remove if we're going to be really useful. So the $200 is very directly targeted to getting those trucks on the road and getting families to a better place.
I got some ideas. I have an idea. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know. But before I give the idea, so for those of you who have just joined us, and I mean, oh my God, it's almost an hour. I can talk to you forever. If you want to leave before an hour, we're going to stay on here, because I've booked this interview for as long as I need to be here. We can have part 2. People can come on and hop off, get a drink, get some ice cream, because this is such important information. We're talking about life. We're talking about having inspired conversations. We're talking about shelter movers. We're talking about Meghan's career too, as helping people who have been in accidents and need a litigation lawyer to really help them through the process. So just to reiterate, the cities that you're in are Vancouver, Ottawa, Halifax, and I'm missing one.
And Greater Toronto. So we're
Greater Toronto area. Okay, so somebody just asked that. And somebody's asking, have you ever faced? Yes.
And we're expanding. I think that's important to mention as well. So
that's good.
We get calls pretty frequently now from communities across Canada that want to see how they can bring shelter movers to help women where they live. And right now we have 2 groups. So one is in the Kitchener-Waterloo area that has come along very, very nicely, and they're about to open in the coming months. So any of your viewers in KW
Kitchener-Waterloo people, shouting out to you.
Shouting out to KW, and also in the Montreal area. So Montreal's
my friend just asked for Montreal if there was one from Montreal. Okay.
So Montreal, I want to take 2 seconds if I can about them in particular. So a woman by the name of Geneviève Comartin reached out to us. Geneviève is a child survivor of abuse. She's an adult now, but her mother was very tragically killed by her father in 2015. Very, very sad after many years of abuse. But the hope story out of that is that Geneviève really has devoted her life to making sure this never happens again, or as rarely as possible.
Right.
And nothing means more to me than hearing a survivor tell me that this matters to them. And Geneviève not only told us that, but she said, this needs to happen in Montreal, and I am devoting my every waking moment to making sure that I can help women flee in my own community. And she has been, you want to talk inspiring. This is an inspiring person who is no nonsense. She's brilliant. She's open about her story, and she's inspiring dozens of people around her in Montreal to get this up and running. And they're very close to opening soon. So I'd give a shout out to our Montreal team. Yeah.
So like, and at the end of this, we're going to make sure and put information so that people can connect with all the teams if they want to be a part of it and volunteer, because it's so important that, and I love the fact that you're expanding. And if you live in a city or province where the need is everywhere, and you think you want to do something, get involved with Shelter Movers, I encourage you to contact Marc, and we will make sure his information is on there after. I just had this idea as we were talking about, it takes $200 to move a woman. Okay, so some people have jobs now, some people don't, income is fluctuating, some people do, some people are linked to corporations. If you took 23 friends today, wow, I didn't even see it. It's even blowing my mind as I tell you about it. Today is the 23rd of May.
Yeah,
okay.
It is.
Right. If you take 23 of your friends and you told them to donate $10, $20, you can sponsor a move. Yeah. So I am challenging my friends. Those are my acquaintances. Those that are your friends, those who we don't even know. If you are hearing this, I take 23 people. Do the math. Call yourself a team. Let's do it. The Inspired Team. I don't care what you call it. And we are going to sponsor a move. How many moves can we sponsor between now and July, now and August? You know, like how all the other charities, we won't call any other charity names right now, they have different challenges. I'm going to challenge you out there to please think about Shelter Movers. Marc and Meghan had no clue I was going to do this. I didn't even have a clue I was going to do this. But I'm just doing the math. I may not have $230, but I can have 23 friends who have $10. And we send in a donation. Look at that. You're on your phone. If you're home during the day, you're a retiree, you're in between trying to rediscover yourself. We need people on the phones. We need people to coordinate moves because they're move coordinators and they have to work with the team to set up the move and all the intricacies. We're not going to get into all the details, but it's very specific. And we need people who are organized and can do logistics on the phone. So please, please, please think about that way to I see Marc chirping up to the what's the mic. Come on in, Marc.
I was going to say to that point, I know you mentioned it earlier, Nicole. I think it's worth saying that we have been operating, so Shelter Movers has been operating remotely, so to speak, for quite a long time. People were asking us, when are we going to get an office space? And I said, how many months of rent will that not allow us to move more family? No, we're not getting office space. No. And then we stumbled upon an extremely generous property manager we are technically paying rent, but it's extremely low. And so we do have some office space, but to your point, the coordination of the moves, the recruitment of volunteers, the interviewing of new volunteers, the training we're doing, 100% of it is remote because we need to stay operational. Everything is running online. We have all of our volunteers. We have some staff, as I mentioned, who might go into an office at some point, but they're not even doing that now. We're 100% remote. And really, as I think Meghan mentioned earlier, what are you good at? What do you love to do? And will you do that for survivors in your community? Because we need people in finance and marketing. We need logistics people, process people, We need we need people who can write policies and know insurance and things like that I don't know anything about. Well, I've got my lawyer who can advise me on the insurance stuff.
And I can attest to the fact he doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, anyway, thanks a lot. That's good.
Finally, he admits he doesn't know something. That's so good.
Wow.
Well, someone just challenged me, and I'm going to take the challenge. Okay, so someone said, one of my friends said, "Are you going to be the banker, Nicole?" So, if you're listening, send me a direct message, and we are going to make an inspired conversation donation from Victory Speaks to Shelter Movers. Let's do this in 23 days. See what we can raise. It's a challenge I'm putting to myself right now. I mean, I launched the webcast on my mom's birthday, which was May 20th. And I'm going to probably put it under her name because this will just be the thing that she would love. She inspires me every day. She's the one who can find the icing on the cake, even though there's no icing in the house. She'll make sure that you see the bright side of a conversation. And so, it's very intentional what I do. And even though we may not always have, see the light at the end of the rainbow, the light at the end of the tunnel every day, we have to really be intentional about it. We have to surround ourselves with people that help us do this. And the two of you are in such a stressful yet meaningful careers that continue to help people, that you're inspiring me to do better. One of my questions to you was like, what helps you, makes you get up the next day and get through the tough times? Well, you know what? Today, Marc and Meghan, you have just went up like 100% again in my eyes to inspire me to get up this morning. This morning when I didn't feel like getting up, I had a tough day yesterday. I'm always keeping it real. And I said, oh my God, I have an interview today. And I got through my day because I thought about not just the interview. I said, no, it's a conversation. And this conversation needs to have impact. And this conversation needs to let people know who never heard about Shelter Movers before. The only organization, listen to me when I say this, I'm coming in close. Shelter Movers is the only organization of its kind in Canada, probably the US, probably the world. We're going to do that research, because when you have to move in an abusive relationship, move out of a shelter, you have to find your own money. And Marc, who was granted paternity leave, shared with Meghan, took it upon himself, got an idea, got a vision to help families that are in an abusive situation move. And he's not just helping women. If there's a man that is in an abusive situation that has found himself in that situation, the men don't always talk about it because the shame is a whole lot bigger. But took a chance. And now he's not working in corporate Canada anymore. He is working at this charity that he has founded, and he has over 900 volunteers around, at least in 4 cities right now, moving to 6. And what's the goal for the end of the year? Do you have a goal for the end of the year, Marc?
Well, we are, as I mentioned, we've moved about 1,300 families now in 4 years, and I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of our volunteers for making that happen. For the end of the year, my vision's a little bit further than that, Nicole. We if we could reach the 14 largest cities in Canada, we'd be reaching about 84%, 85% of the Canadian population. And my vision, and the vision that my board of directors has allowed me to continue with, is we want basically any woman in Canada who's living in a major city to be able to pick up the phone when she decides she needs to go. And we need a team at her doorstep within 4 hours. And I've been pushing my colleagues and I push myself to have this happen by the end of 2022. So it's 2020 now. We'll be in 6 cities within the next few months, which means we have 8 more cities in Canada to reach about 85% of the Canadian population. And so we have 21 and 22 to make that happen. That's
So the challenge is on. Emily says, wow, goals. Now I am challenging. So here's what I'm seeing on the feed. One friend says we can do this in 24 hours. So the challenge is on in terms of raising some money. I don't know what we're going to raise, but there's going to be something coming to you, and we're going to figure out a fun way to do it and make sure it's an impactful way that we do it. 2, wow goals. Now, if you're online and you know of a media person, you know an influencer, because an influencer can watch this podcast and that influencer could have 1 million people on their feed versus 1 million people watching this. If you know some influencers, I want you to tell them about Marc and Meghan. I want you to tell them about Shelter Movers and let them know there's a goal in Canada, COVID or no COVID, because we're in a double crisis, we're in a triple crisis, as Marc said. And if you joined us in the middle, go back to the beginning of this interview and listen to some of the information Marc shared about how much abuse has grown. And if you're reading the news and if you're tuned in, you will know it's out there. All the shelters are talking about it. All the VAWs are talking about it. The ministries for women are talking about it. The abuse has heightened. It's heightened for women. It's heightened for children because we're stressed. But there's a goal that by 2022, so Marc, we need a poster. I'm challenging your team. We need something by 2022. We have a goal to be in 14 of the largest cities in Canada, and we are going to do it. We're putting it out there. I'm not asking the how, but I'm saying that we're putting it out there. And once we speak it, somehow things are going to come together. This is so significant. If I didn't do any other conversation in Inspired Conversations, I'm glad I did this one.
Well, this means a lot that you're making the time for this, Nicole. And I this is a platform it means a lot to.
I know I needed tissues. Oh my God. Oh.
I'll tell you, in 2018 and 2019, a woman or a girl was killed in Canada every 2.5 days. Every 2.5 days in our country. And I mean, why isn't that? Why are we not all? I mean, when I found that information, I thought, well, why is anyone okay with this? No one should be okay with this. This is abhorrent. This is an embarrassment, and it's
tragic.
Yeah, it's tragic. That's the word. It's tragic.
It is totally tragic.
And so preventable. We don't need to have, the men who do this. The Shelter Movers is not anti-men or anti-abuser, because we know that abusers live with trauma often themselves that was never resolved. So they need help too. We need to stop the violence and immediately, but this problem has to go further than just helping women flee. We need to do that. That's the immediate threat, and Shelter Movers will be there for those women. But this is about a culture change. This is about not seeing violence against women as a private domestic violence issue. We don't use that term anymore because it's not something that just happens privately in your home between two people. This is a community problem.
Exactly.
It deserves a community response. When a woman or girl is being killed every 2.5 days, it's everybody's problem. We all should be shocked by this, and we all should be acting against it. When guys hear that, in the locker room or at their workplace, some other guys say, yeah, I put her in her place when she talked back. That's the moment when the guy steps up and says, what are you talking? Like,
yes,
there's nothing okay with that. And our culture needs to change. And it's men and many women too, but it's largely men who need to say, this doesn't have a place in Canada or in the world anymore. We don't need to accept this. We don't need to laugh along with the jokes. There's nothing funny about this. These are our wives and our daughters and our sisters and moms.
Exactly.
So it's a great, and the pandemic, to be honest, Nicole, for me, is a huge opportunity for us to look at what life is like for us now. Broadly speaking, we don't need to accept what was pre-pandemic if we don't want to. People want to go back to what was normal. Well, you know what? Many Canadians and many women.
It really wasn't normal. That should not have been normal. Exactly. This new normal that they talk about is really probably the normal that we should be living in. You know what I'm saying? And let's talk about it. It's about family values. Like when you and Meghan just spoke about, you know what, we're having these conversations about this is how much time they should be in front of the screen or not. Those are conversations that sometimes we forget to have when we're going into relationships. What are your values? What do you like? You know, we get into the mushy stuff, but you know, how do we have those valuable, intentional conversations? When you don't know the use of something, you will abuse it. And it goes for a thing or a person. And when somebody has only learned abuse, that's all they're going to know what it is. And I really love the fact that even though we hold the men or women doing the abuse accountable, you're recognizing that there is trauma and there is, you know, there is an illness. There is something that has happened that has caused this person to perpetuate this behavior. And the fact that you, again, it shows who you guys are at the heart of the matter, that you have a big heart and you don't stand in a place of judgment with others. You stand in a place of action. You're not a man who complains. Meghan, you're not a woman. You guys are actually finding solutions to the challenges that are before you. And again, as I say to people, if you're listening to this, I am making sure that I'm writing down what is inspiring me in this conversation, because so many times we turn on the TV or we go to hear a motivational speaker. And yeah, you know, I'm one of those people. I'm a motivational, but what I am learning is I don't want to be motivated, because motivation has to happen every day. I want to be inspired, because when I am inspired, it changes my thinking, it changes my heart, it changes my life, it changes my belief system. And that's going to help me move differently. And if we don't shift our thinking, if we don't shift our mindsets, we're not going to move. We're just going to say, okay, well, if you give me some ice cream, then I'm going to do my homework. So it's temporary. And we have to inspire. So this information, the fact that you're so intentional, and I'm using specific words because it's what you're doing. It's what sometimes we take for granted. We take our lives for granted. We take our neighbors for granted. If you hear someone next door to you and you think there is abuse happening, don't be afraid to call. I know we had to call. We had a neighbor call I live in a co-op, and someone called me and said, I hear noise on the 3rd floor. And I'm like, but I don't want to call the police. I said, listen, we're going to go outside the door and we're going to listen. And we listen. And if we're not sure, I'm not going to knock on the door. We're going to call the police. They don't have to know that you called the police. You need to make sure that that person is safe. If you're not sure what to do, if you see that person in the laundry room, if you see that person down the street, when it is safe, you can say, if ever you need someone to talk to, I'm here for you. You don't have to get into a deep, dark conversation. Are you being hit? Are you okay? Sometimes it's just about a conversation. Sometimes it's just about, you know, sometimes we ask people, so Marc, Meghan, how are you doing today? While we're walking in, and we walk away. We never stop and listen to what the person is saying or not saying. And I can only, and I know from what my son went through, and when I'm turning to Meghan now, when you're dealing with victims who are in accidents and stuff, how do you, like, you know, because they're not really telling you everything, because sometimes you have to listen to what they're not saying to get through to the real crux of the matter. How do you really deal with your clients when you meet them and they're stuck in and being afraid, because there's a lot of fear that you have to deal with?
Yeah, certainly there's a lot of fear. And I think at the very beginning, you kind of hit the nail on the head. You just have to listen. You have to listen actively, make sure that they feel heard. And then you ask important questions. And over the years, I've learned what questions those are that discern people, but that also help you get the full information. Gaining trust is critical, I think, because when you become a lawyer, these cases take, or when you become the person's lawyer, the cases take years to get through the system. And so having a lawyer you trust, having somebody you trust, that's speaking for you, that becomes your mouthpiece, that becomes the person that coordinates your treatment team, that fights for you. It really is important that you have sort of that trust relationship. And so building that from the first conversation, I think, is critical. And that allows the information to flow far more freely from people who are traumatized or, catastrophically injured, because it's their life that's changed so dramatically. And so to know somebody is actively listening and hearing them, I think, is critical right from the very beginning.
And you also have clients who don't know. They want to get on with their lives and they almost try to pretend like everything's going to be okay, and things are not okay. And you have to convince them, say, listen, you got a really serious injury. It deserves to be treated properly. And, they're stuck between this attempt to move on, but still live with this crippling injury that they really deserve. And it's very expensive or whatever. And I hear you on the phone saying, listen, your injuries are serious. I know you want to get on with your life as quickly as you can, but it's been many years, you're in horrible pain or whatever.
Yeah, and I think part of that is that I have the experience now, or the knowledge to know, look, we can access this or that will help support you. So how would you feel about meeting an occupational therapist or a social worker, and there is funding available to you. It's not that you're going to be out of pocket for those things. Would you like to meet with these treatment providers that specialize in brain injury or spinal cord injury or chronic pain issues or whatever it is that the person's dealing with? So, because a lawyer is only part of your team. A lawyer is critical, I think, in getting that team together, but I'm not a social worker or a physiatrist, or I don't have any specialty in rehabilitating somebody with a brain injury, but I am able to connect them to wonderful service providers that will provide that support too. And I think, again, empowering the victim, empowering the person that's been in this horrible accident to make these decisions along with the recommendations of a treatment team is critical. And that's something that I'm able to provide, and that I feel is a big support.
You answered a question that I was thinking about, how would I figure out who to trust? And I think just knowing the information that the legal team, the lawyer like yourself is sharing, it's not just about the money grab, it's making sure that you're getting the right help, figuring out the right medical team that you need, the right social infrastructure that you need. I think that's a bing moment right there, because sometimes you're just there and it's just about the money. And
well, something that I think Megs gets asked a lot about is about money. And if we're going to have an honest conversation, Nicole, I think Megs, you should talk about how do you get paid, and someone who calls you, I didn't know this. I only know this even recently. Someone calls you and says they had an accident. Are you going to charge them, money right off the bat to talk to them, or how do they pay you? How does it work?
Yeah, well, just quickly, just generally, we get paid at the end of a case. So there's no money up front, and there's no expenses up front. We fund the lawsuits, generally in 99% of cases. And if they don't succeed, we don't get paid. But certainly the first conversation or couple conversations, I just have great empathy for people who really need to understand the system and explain the regime in Ontario and what they're looking at. And it just makes it far less daunting for them, I think, to have their eyes open to what it is they're going to be looking at, what they're going to face in the years that come to rebuild.
No, thank you for sharing that. Sorry, Marc, go ahead.
I was just saying, in both of our careers, what we have in common is, not just that we're serving people who are in vulnerable positions, but no one walks through life alone, even if they think they are. There's always somebody, it's always something there with them. And in our case, I think our job is to surround people who could use a hand with a team of people who are there in their corner. And if we do our job properly, the people we're serving, in my case, I won't speak for Meghan, but in my case, literally, she's going back to the place where she suffered this horrible abuse, but she's not going back by herself. This time she's going back with 6 people, 2 trucks, a security guard or the police, language interpreter. She's got literally a crew of people who are standing there side to side with her, saying,
fear out of the way. Moving the things that were putting a lot of the fear, even though some fear will be there, you're trying to help with the elimination of the fear. And fear is crippling, and it makes you stay with the abuser. So I really like that fact that you really take that extra care.
And I think one of the things that's been meaningful to me, just to draw sort of from that, is that statistically, I understand that women go back after they've left about 6 times. And so not only are they going back, they're bringing their children back. And statistically, it's those children that when they grow up become the abusers, because that's all they've known. And so if Shelter Movers gets you out on the first or second time you leave, you're not going back 4 or 5 times. Neither are your children. And so the trajectory of your children's lives could be dramatically impacted by this one $200 move. Like, it's so incredible what impact this move has on a clean break and on children, hopefully not growing to become the abusers themselves, and changing our stats, changing Canadian statistics.
And I think, Marc, you know, and you said it, Meghan, when that person goes in that truck or meets with the team, there's a team behind you. So it's almost like I finally have, it's not just because I, you know, even worked in a shelter, there's one thing of the people there, but then knowing that there's some strangers who don't know you from Adam, who are now saying, okay, I'm going to help you move your most valuable possessions in a safer way as we can. And I'm coming with you. I'm not sending you alone. I'm doing it with you. And I know it gives that woman, that family, a boost. And it sends that message that, you know what, it gives them that extra message that I can do it. And if one of the things that we can take from this conversation is the importance of family, the importance of the village, the importance of the village. And Shelter Movers has created another part of the village that was missing. And so, guys, I thank you so much for being on Victory Speaks Inspired Conversations. I know I can talk all day, but I'm going to be cognizant of the time, because you need to rest. And I need to make sure that you guys have self-care. There's no weekend really for you, because you can get a call anytime. So you take your weekends when you can, you take your rest when you can. But let's leave them with something inspirational again. What advice would you give to anyone, just about, it could be anything that you want to give advice on, or give a quote, something just to leave them with a nice little something to write home about or keep in their hearts. He leans over to Meghan.
If a little guy, he was little, if a little guy on paternity leave can find a gap in the system, I'm not saying we all need to do that, but everybody can make a difference, and everybody can in some way respond to this need. And Shelter Movers gives you an opportunity to do it. Mm-hmm. So I just encourage you to reach out and see how your gifts or what you're able to contribute would help end violence against women.
That was really, I don't know. I had one, but I don't think it's as good. I think of it's probably silly, but you know, Mr. Robinson's Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You know that show? He'd always say, look in when times are bad, look for the helper. Yeah. I know it's an overused quote, but I think about that because I think about the people who I get to work with, and these are really hard times for a lot of people, and I don't think that should be overlooked. And to be able to help somebody else, I think, is a real privilege. It really is, to recognize that whatever you have, there might be somebody who has even less or is even worse off. So I know we're all struggling, but there are people who have it really, really bad. And I think when we look for the helpers, our outlook over the whole thing just kind of changes. It just shifts what we're looking at. And you know, people like Megs and people like the volunteers in my organization are the helpers. They are people they're cutting through all that crap, all that terrible stuff, and they're saying, let's just help this one person. Let's just focus on that one thing right now, and don't feel so overwhelmed by everything else that's weighing down. Let's focus on the one good thing we can do. And then that one good thing becomes 10 and 12 and 15 good things really quick. And I think there's a lot of hope. I think there's a lot of examples of great, heartfelt things that are happening around us. And if we focus on that, I think we'll be okay.
I love it. That was just so great. Hope. So if I were to take a few things from this conversation, I took so many things from this conversation, and I hope many of you did. And please share with us, some of the things that inspired you on our comment section. Marc has left us with hope. Keep hope alive, and even the smallest action counts. And for those of you who may have just joined in at the end, I encourage you to go back to the beginning and know that I'm speaking with Marc and Meghan. And we're talking about shelter movers. We're talking about litigation and accidents. And if you need a litigation lawyer, Meghan's your girl who can help you through some pretty challenging times in your life. We're talking about living intentionally. And the reason that I had this conversation is because Marc and Meghan have inspired me. Marc, when I met Marc a few years ago, and I heard about what he was doing, I was so moved. Shelter Movers is the only organization of its kind in Canada, and I will repeat that and repeat that. There are many charities doing the same things. This is the only charity of its kind, people. The only one. It's unique. It really is unique. And they have the model down packed, and they're helping women and families move from in abusive situations for free. Let's say that again, for free. There is no charge to any woman and their families, and even a man who is in an abusive relationship that is moving. And you will get it through a referral process. If you need to know more, please go to sheltermovers.com. Please follow them on Twitter. Shelter Movers on Twitter. They're on Instagram and they're on Facebook. Please follow them. We put out a challenge. It's May 23rd. It came out of the inspired conversation. And if in the next 23 days we can move, I would love to move 23 women in 23 days. That's really what I would love to do.
Wow.
Anybody who's willing to contribute, we're gonna create some teams, and I challenge you, get 23 of your friends to donate $10. It takes $200, $230 to move one woman. So I challenge you out there today. I also challenge you or encourage you to take a moment to breathe, to listen, to have an intentional conversation, or see the inspiration in your conversations at least once per day. Find something inspiring, no matter if it feels like a negative conversation or it feels super positive, and really reflect on it throughout the day and let it sink into your hearts. I thank you for taking the time with us this afternoon, this evening, this morning, depending on when you're listening to it. We're doing it at nighttime because the kids are in bed. And I am Nicole Waldron, AKA Victory. And you've been listening to an inspired conversation on Victory Speaks. And hopefully you can watch the rebroadcast. I think I have to watch the rebroadcast as we go on. And you can follow me on Victory Speaks on Instagram. Victory Speaks 7. Let me be specific. Victory Speaks 7 on Instagram. Victory Speaks 7 on Twitter. And if you have someone that you think is inspirational in your life that can share some inspiration with others, or you want to share an inspiring conversation, send me an email to victoryspeaks7@gmail.com. I really appreciate the time, the care, and the love you've all given to this evening. I hope you get some rest. And remember to stay safe. Physical distancing, don't get too excited. Practice, be safe, take care of your families, be patient, and make it a great night, make it a great day. Thank you. Be intentional, be inspired, have some inspired conversations in your life. Thanks, Meghan and Marc.
Thank you.